If you are of a certain age, i.e. old like me, you might remember something called a party line. That was when you picked up your telephone, a landline of course, to make a phone call, and suddenly you could hear a conversation between two strangers on the phone. Sometimes they could hear you on the other line. Most of the times they couldn't hear you at all. Sometimes you could hang up and then get a dial tone. Most of the times you would hang up and that conversation was still going on. Well, party lines are a thing of the past now, but they play a major role in today's film. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, a film noir that actually began as a very, very popular radio play, then was made into a film, and then made 4 more times into a film, and is an acknowledged film noir classic. And yet, I had issues with it. Let's check it out. Today's film is Sorry, Wrong Number from 1948, 90 minutes long, beautiful black and white. And, somehow, without ever really recalling seeing this film, I had an idea what it was about. Maybe it's part of our collective subconscious, or maybe it's part of our collective consciousness, or maybe I know about it through osmosis. Whatever it is, this is about a woman who is very rich and she's bedridden, and she picks up the phone to make a phone call. She's all alone, and she hears a conversation between 2 men on the party line on the phone, and the 2 men are plotting a murder, and gradually she becomes to think that she is their intended murder victim. Now, I'm not giving anything away. Whatever I just told you is on the back of this case and on any kind of plot description you're going to read. To be honest with you, when I first was going to watch this, even before I put it in the player, I thought, well, this is going to be 5 stars. In fact, why even do an episode on this? Everybody knows what this film is. Everybody knows it's a classic. In fact, I'd be stupid not to give it 5 stars because it seems to be a well-known film noir classic. And yet, it took me 3 attempts to get through this film. The first attempt, halfway through, I was nodding off. I didn't want to blame the film. I thought maybe I didn't get enough sleep that night. Maybe I had a little bit of bourbon while I was watching it, and that made me a little tired. Whatever, okay? Next night, put it in again, finish it, still confused about some elements of this film. So I thought, okay, well, let me give it a 3rd time. Usually I don't watch films a 3rd time for this channel, usually once, maybe twice. So I put it again, started from the very beginning, still had to rewind certain scenes. Like, what is going on? Who is this guy? And what are they up to? And what's the connection to the main character? And anyways, I was still trying to piece it together, parts of it, even after the 3rd try watching this. So I was trying to understand, what is my problem with this film? And I think one thing was they had to make a 90-minute film out of something that was originally a 22-minute radio play. So they added lots of characters. They have lots of flashbacks. Every character in this film has a flashback. Sometimes I think there were even some flashbacks within the flashbacks. There's an unlikable main character played by Barbara Stanwyck. I'll talk about her a little bit later. But her character is very arrogant, entitled, rude, manipulative, pushy. And it's actually a very good performance by Stanwyck because she is confined to a bed for most of the film, and she's talking on the telephone for most of the film. That's pretty hard to pull off. She was nominated for an Oscar for this, deservedly so, I think. Her husband is played by Burt Lancaster. I'll talk about him in a minute. And this is more really of a supporting role for Burt Lancaster. And his character comes from a very poor background, a place called Grassville. And she kind of meets him at a dance, and she likes how he looks because he's a good-looking guy. And he becomes like a trophy husband for her, and he works for her rich father. And he's kind of under the thumb of her and her father. So he's kind of a weak character. And Lancaster's a little bit wasted, I think, in this film. Great supporting cast. Ed Begley, always love to see him. He plays Stanwyck's rich father, doting on her all the time and putting Lancaster in his place. Wendell Corey plays a doctor. William Conrad has a great scene as this kind of low-life gangster type. Leif Erikson plays a DA. Ann Richards is in it. The direction's good. The cinematography is good because you have to figure, okay, they have to open it up outside of just her bedroom. So it the camera kind of moves around her bedroom, moves outside on the balcony. You can see the city. It moves around the house. And then, of course, the different flashbacks. It also has some strong noir elements to it, some good visual moments. It has this feeling of being trapped because obviously Stanwyck's character is trapped in her bed and Lancaster feels trapped in this life that he's living in the same house with Stanwyck and her father, and he has to work for her father. So he feels trapped. He's trying to get out of it. There's a good supporting cast. And also something in a lot of film noirs, a very strong female character, because post-World War II, men came back from the war and their women were not the little doting housewives they were anymore. And a lot of film noirs reflect that, and she's definitely not a little doting housewife in this. And also the ending is very good. And yet, despite some of these strong elements, I'm only going to give Sorry Wrong Number 3 phones out of 5. Why? I like the actors a lot, but I think they were in much better films. Barbara Stanwyck in Double Indemnity, one of my top 10 films. She was also in 40 Guns, Sam Fuller film that I really like. I talked about both those films in previous episodes if you want to check those out. Burt Lancaster, wonderful actor. Brute Force, The Killers, Birdman of Alcatraz, The Train. I did an episode on The Train. Sweet Smell of Success. Interesting actor, interesting person, but again, kind of wasted here, I thought. And then I thought there's too much plot. There's all these side plots about how she snagged her husband and what her father's relationship is to her and her health condition. And there's certain things about that I'm still not sure what that was supposed to mean. And then there's this whole subplot with drug trafficking, but they couldn't say drug trafficking because of the production code. They wouldn't allow that. So I wasn't even sure what they were doing with the drugs at one point. And the bottom line, I got pretty confused. And I've watched, complex films before. It's not like I'm only watching simple films, but still I got kind of confused with this. And I wasn't really that involved in it, even though so many people on these extras are saying this is one of the most suspenseful films ever made. There were suspenseful moments, but was I on the edge of my seat through the whole thing? No, I wasn't. So anyways, what's on this disc? This is a Shout Factory disc. You're going to have a square picture. Picture quality's pretty good. It's a little grainy. There are 2 commentaries, which I did not listen to. There are 2 radio plays. There's one audio only of Lancaster and Stanwyck performing Sorry Wrong Number. Then there's a newer one that's filmed radio play in color. And there is an intro by Eddie Muller, who is the head of the Film Noir Foundation. I've talked about him before. He's always right on target, totally interesting, really enjoy his stuff. And he's also in the Making of documentary, which is about 30 minutes long. I like that too. So where can you see Sorry Wrong Number? You can rent it. You can try your library, and it's also streaming on something called Pluto TV, which I've heard of, but I really don't know what that is. So maybe I'm way off on this. Feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below. I would like to thank the following people who left comments since our last episode. That is Michael, Tina, and Jay. Thank you. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. You can also follow us on Letterboxd. It's free, where I post written reviews of other things we're watching. There's a link down below in the notes. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.